Hello, Ricky video. Today we're going to take a look at 10 teams you can run with the newly updated Pokemon here, as I think those going to be very interesting in the beginning as well, because the beginning is usually a little bit chill for the new season. We cannot take a look at the meta yet really, because PvPoke didn't release the meta yet at this current point where I'm talking, because the move updates are not final yet. But of course I have my own version where I can put all the move updates in there, as well as the changes for example the NiRiain, which is going to be the most important change here, as we can take a look at the first team. The first team here going to be a team around the newly released gold version of Tentacruel, as you're going to have something pretty similar what you already know. We have like something like the fighting type Medicham in the lead, which doesn't want to face stuff like fairy types, where you then have the Tentacruel for it. And you have like stuff for the Say Swap, which is like the Lickitung or the Galarian Stunfisk. But you could also use, which I just really realized, you could also use something like Water Gun Lantern, which we have a different team later on, as a Say Swap as well for this team. I think that would be even better if you want Water Gun Lantern. I think that would be a little bit better as an option. But yeah, this would be the first team for the Gold version of the Tentacruel. The second team here going to be around the Hitmonlee now, which has the double kick, which makes it actually pretty decent, as you have access to nukes like Stone Edge and the Close Combat, especially the Shadow version. If you take a look at the Shadow version in the Zero Shield scenario, this thing beats nearly everything, which is insane. And I think this team might be really cool, because you have the Lickitung in the lead, which gives you some bulk to the team, and also an answer for Ghost and Psychic types. You have the Surfetch as a Say Swap here, which is going to be able to have Night Slash, which is going to also give you some coverage against those Ghost and Psychic types. And then you have the Hitmonlee in the back that should try to finish up those games with the high energy generation from the double kick and the nukes with Stone Edge in Close Combat. So this team is also like pretty common before already, with the Medicham in the back instead of the Hitmonlee there. If you want to use this, you can also use this. You can also use every single other fighting type that has some kind of potential in Go Battle League instead of the Hitmonlee. But this is funny because Hitmonlee is a new Pokemon. So let's take a look at the next team. The next team going to be around the Double. You might want to change the Registeel in the back depending on really what you're going to face, because this team might be a little bit weak against Swampert, because the Elite is a little bit weak with the Gliscor, which is a very good Pokemon for this team in general. Because if you take a look at the weaknesses of Gliscor and what beats, and the thing that is weak for the Double and what it beats, it's basically Perfect Core. Especially because you have the Wild Charge on the Double, which is going to give you some water type coverage which you don't really want. But of course, Swampert is kind of the one Pokemon that you don't really want to face with this. Maybe use something else in the bag. For example, the Miltank would be fine as well, like some normal type in the bag, because the Double as a Say Swap here with double kick going to be able to get out those potential fighting types. And I think that should be definitely a very good team as well. And I think like, yeah, Double going to be way better than you might expect. I think those Pokemon really going to wreck a lot of Pokemon, because you have such a pretty decent stat product. You have stat Body Slam, and you're also going to have a Wild Charge, which is just a very good nuke. So this is going to be a very cool Pokemon to use. The next team going to be around the Dunsparce, which now has access to Rollout, which makes it definitely a little bit better, as we here have the Trevenant in the lead, which is pretty decent. Like a lot of people think that this will be the best new Pokemon in the upcoming meta after the change that NiRiain basically lost a little bit of its power. Then you have as the Say Swap the Vigoroth, which should be able to get out fighting types, especially the Scrafty, which you really don't want to face with this team. And you have then as a closer the Dunsparce, which has access to Drill Run and Rock Slide, which is just nearly perfect coverage. I don't know really any Pokemon right now in my head that will resist both other moves. So yeah, like this is going to be a pretty decent team, I would say, at least. And I think Dunsparce has some potential. I don't think it has the most potential of all the move changes, but it's still going to be fun to use. The next team going to be around the Galarian Weezing, which definitely going to be better in the Ultra League than compared to the Great League. You're going to try to run a double nuke move here with the Player of the new move actually with the Fairy Wind, and you also have the Overheat here. You can actually run Tackle as well as a fast move now, because Tackle is now a Water Gun clone, it seems like. So it's also not the worst, and then you would use Sludge, but I think this moveset is a little bit better still. You have the Say Swap here of Sableye, you have the backline there with the Swampert. The Swampert doesn't really want to face any kind of grass types, where you have an elite Pokemon that is pretty decent against grass types. So I think there's going to be definitely still a decent team here. It's a little bit difficult to build a team, to be honest, around the Galarian Weezing, as it has a very interesting typing that you don't really see that often, so there's not really the standard course that you would think about. The next team going to be with the Lantern here, which has access now to Surf, which makes it so much better. And also, now you kind of lose at least some kind of potential to do some water damage. Of course, you get to surf a little bit faster, but therefore, I think you should nowadays definitely try to run Water Gun. I think Water Gun Lantern is way better now compared to the Spark version. Spark was better before because you were able to generate energy fast and you would get faster to the moves, but now Water Gun, in my opinion, is a little bit better, especially if you look at the meta, because they shifted a little bit towards something like Nidoqueen, towards something like Swampert, and now those are not the hardest answers to you anymore. Especially Swampert has to go for an Earthquake against you to KO you, so like now having Water Gun plus Surf gives you immediate pressure against everything that wants to come in, and then you have just the standard backline basically with the Registeel as well. Both Pokemon in the backline will be able to resist the ice damage, which you don't really want to have from for like the Altaria, so I'm pretty sure this team going to be pretty nice, as well as now with the Water Gun, the Lantern will be able to deal with stuff like Stunfisk as well, which is going to be also pretty decent. The next team going to be around the Milting here, also we're going to have a pretty similar team too. I think the first one was where we have now the Medicham in the lead again. We have the Lickitung as a Say Swap. You can use something like the Dubwool as a Say Swap as well. And then you have the Milting in the back, because the main goal of this team is trying to get out the potential Steel type with your Lickitung and then try to sweep endgame with your Stab, Body Slam, Miltank there. I would suggest that you run the Ice Beam here, especially with this team, because you kind of want to get rid of flying types for your Medicham, and I think that's going to be a very decent team to use. Miltank going to look pretty decent. I think it's going to be the first Pokemon I'm going to try to showcase as well, but there's a lot to come on my channel, so if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, I would appreciate it, and also leave a like if you haven't. So go to the next team now. The next team is very similar to the Floette team I had recently, but this time was Slurpuff, now with Fairy Wind as well, and we have the Diggersby in the lead and we have a Charmeleon in the back. You can either run the Shadow Granbull, which I really like at least recently, because I can just charm on everything in 2 shields, or you can also go for the bulkier variant with the Alolan Ninetales, which is also fine. The thing with this team is that the Slurpuff gonna run a little bit of a different moveset that you would expect here. Fairy Wind, yes, but you will not really want to use the Fairy type coverage of this Pokemon. It would learn Play Rough. You can run Play Rough if you really want to, if you really see the situation where you really need this. But I would rather suggest you to go for Energy Ball and a Flamethrower, and this is why the Slurpuff is better than, for example, something like a Florges in the Great League and Ultra League. This thing has a very insanely good coverage, and giving it the Flamethrower and the Energy Ball are going to make it an answer for something like the Steel types, for something like the Trevenant, for something like the Swampert, and I think Slurpuff might be the next best Say Swap in the Go Battle League. We have to see how it's actually going to perform, but I think it's going to be so good. And Diggersby is, in my opinion, the most buffed Pokemon out of the move update, which is hilarious because it didn't change anything other than Quick Attack, which you still don't really want to use. The second to last team going to be again with Slurpuff. This time around you kind of want to run Fairy Wind or Charm as well. You can actually run Charm in this team as well. The Energy Ball and then the Play Rough if you don't run Charm. And if you run Charm, you want to run the Flamethrower here. And then you have the Say Swap of the normal Kofagrigas, and then you have the Closer of the Runerigas. Runerigas got access now to Shadow Claw, which makes it so much better, like so much better. It still looks a little bit worse than the Kofagrigas, to be honest, but it's like slightly, it's like a little bit of a different Pokemon, to be honest. But having the Runerigas in the back going to give you like a very good answers for something like a Registeel, which is still going to be very viable in the next season. So yeah, like this is going to be a very cool team. It's very cool that you can run both of them in the back. I kind of want to run this team as well on my channel, but it's cool that you can run double coughing basically there, as this going to be a very decent team as well on paper. Like it's not only a meme, it's really good in paper as well, and I'm really looking forward to use this. But let's go to the final team for this video. In the final team going to be around the newly released and Shadow Claw Golisopod there, which is going to be our Say Swap in this team, which is going to make it so much better. It's just so much better, to be honest. We have the lead here of the Stunfisk, we have the Golisopod as a Say Swap, and we have the Arachnid in the back. Both Pokemon in the backline share the same typings. Well, I think they're reversed actually, like one is bug water and the other one is a water bug, which doesn't make any difference, but hey, kind of noticeable. And we have our Stunfisk in the lead that is really appreciating those two in the back there. You have basically your flying ants in the lead and you have two, it's an ABB line again. You kind of want to safe swap the Golisopod there as soon as you face something that you don't really want to face in the lead or have like something neutral in the lead as well. And you really need to keep your Stunfisk alive, and then you kind of want to sweep endgame with the bug bite version of the Araquanid. It's just way better, to be honest. And yeah, that's going to be it for the video. Thanks for watching. See you next video. See you in the new season. Don't forget to use your star piece when the season starts so you get more Stardust. And that's going to be it for the video. Thanks for watching. See you next video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.